So in terms of the culture, Jesse, so what you've kind of built in Paul Writer. So I think a lot of the audience would want to know, like, how's the culture within your organization, and how big is the team right now? So and
Yeah, so another call we took around 2 years ago is that we are a very lean organization,
sure,
and we have partners whom we work with for delivery. So the in-house team is for program management, consulting, which is primarily me,
okay,
and content strategy, program management, like only that piece is in-house. If it is events, agenda creation is in-house, but not the rest of it.
okay,
So we work with fairly strongly with CMO Access and a couple of other partners for
okay,
the delivery.
okay, okay. Mm.
So it's a very flex team, which is again been a godsend in the current scenario.
Mm. Right,
I know that a lot of agencies which have people on their roles are actually struggling to figure out how to maintain them over this period,
right, 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 right.
right? And it's also a regulatory nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. Can you
So
imagine?
every day you're getting new mails and whatever to do.
Mm.
So in terms of working, also this has worked beautifully because we're already in a remote working model, and therefore the fact that you can't meet is not a major issue.
Mm.
So I was actually traveling to India once a month and spending 10 days there, but and the balance in Amsterdam and so on.
Right.
But since March, obviously, I haven't been able to go back. And in fact, my last trip I cut short quite dramatically because I was in Bombay and most of my meetings, everything got cancelled. So then
Okay,
I thought the borders might close and came back.
okay.
But because we were already remote working, this is not a major issue.
Mm.
And I'm also on the boards of three companies, and
Right,
everything now is virtual there as well.
right.
And I actually feel we've had more frequent meetings because you can do it online than the old process of we must all meet in person,
Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. Mm.
right? And so in my view, productivity is not suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Clients are also finding it much easier because otherwise finding we have to travel, you have to travel, all of that
Mm.
jazz was going on.
Right.
Now you just say, hey, can we just do a quick call on WhatsApp or whatever, it's all good.
Mm. Mm.
So in a remote model, that doesn't matter. And in terms of culture, um, see, one is from a creativity perspective, every client wants something different.
Mm.
Tone of voice, turnaround, everything is different for each client. So that's not something you can have as a universal culture.
True.
What you can have is that, like I said, it's about delivering to the promise.
Mm.
So you can fight very hard to not give a promise or to give a promise that is underballing, lowballing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But once you've given the promise, you have to try really hard to meet it.
Right.
So
Right.
if you have agreed that you'll do 24-hour turnaround for content for a newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
you can fight the first request saying I don't want to do 24-hour turnaround.
Mm.
But once you've agreed to do this 24-hour turnaround, you can't make excuses like, oh, today is a holiday or today is this or whatever. Those things should not happen,
Right.
which frequently happens, right?
Especially with
Um,
agencies, yeah, it happens all.
it happens, and I understand the reality of it.
Yeah.
Somebody is sick, all of these things happen, but then there is no way. I mean, you shouldn't have given the promise in the first place.
Right. Right.
So the negotiation and the fighting can happen at the time of giving the promise. But once you've given the promise, try to stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot, then at least give prior visibility saying, boss, we've tried it for a month,
Right.
not happening.
Right.
Right? We can, and if you don't want to do work with us, that's fine, but we just are not able to deliver quality at this time frame.
Mm-hmm.
That you can do. But to the extent possible, try to keep within that. And so we don't count iterations. We have it in writing saying 2 iterations, 3 iterations.
Right.
But if the request is reasonable, like someone says, but I'm sorry, I forgot, please help.
Yeah.
We tend not to quibble over those things because that's again in the line of it's a relationship.
Yeah. Mm.
Again, we are never going to be the cheapest players, and the
Mm-hmm.
reason why is also because then I can't afford to give you these things.
Mm. Mm.
So you came to me for the cheapest price and then you're asking for additional iterations. I have no money, nowhere to give you these things.
Mm. Mm.
And actually, from a client perspective, also, my request to them is, you can't expect flexibility and relationship and all those glorious things
Mm.
if you are coming into it at the idea of finding the lowest cost player.
Right. Right. Right.
Right. So you
Right.
also have to decide, is this something that I just want as an automated process? Somebody is just churning out something,
Mm-hmm.
or do you actually want someone to think about it?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Right.
Right.
So, so that is actually one of the cultural or philosophical things that
The
I've tried to kind of
quality over
get.
anything else, right? So quality is.
Yeah, quality and the promise. So if you want low
Yeah.
quality, that's fine. We can do that too. That's not an
Mm.
issue, right? You just want some SEO stuff with 5 words in it, no problem.
Right.
But if you actually want a nice white paper, then let's not go. People are like, oh, somebody is asking, willing to do it for 2 rupees a word.
Right.
Sure. I mean, let's see what quality you get at 2 rupees a word.
Right. 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 Right.
Right. So, don't price something at, the Sabzi Mandi rate and then say, I want 5-star service. Not going to happen for you.
Mm. Mm.
So that's a philosophical thing. Also, we tend to choose engagements that are not intrinsically boring.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So some of the things are intrinsically, you can see that this is not going to work.
Right. Right.
So there, I'm quite happy to suggest someone else and walk away, because over time you can feel whether a client is going to fit or not.
Mm. Mm. Right. 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 Interesting. I know it's not fair to compare your B2B and your B2C forms. So, but we've seen like a lot of, you know, content variations that are coming in the B2C sector. Like the influencer was a big push that kind of came in with B2C marketing. Like a lot of people online trying to influence you to buy your product through some or the other way. But do you see a possibility where a fun or a creative kind of a form might enter into B2B as well, apart from what we've been seeing over the years?
So influencers have been there in B2B forever. So Gartner is a multi-billion dollar company and it is nothing but an influencer company,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And I mean, 20 years ago, there were many more of those. There was a Forrester, there was AMR, there was a bunch of them.
Right.
Now Gartner pretty much owns the whole piece,
Mm-hmm.
but it is nothing but an influencer company. So
Right.
any element that you have in B2C, you will have in B2B.
B2B.
It is just that the duration of that element, or um, number of elements, I mean, number of items that you will use from that element might be different.
Right.
Um, but like, even if you take something like, say, product placement,
Hmm.
if an Apple machine is present in a movie, that's B2B or B2C, you have to decide.
Hmm.
Bulk
Right.
of, product buyers are B2B as well. So when you put a laptop into a movie, is it B2C or B2B is always very blurry,
Hmm. Right.
right? In
Right.
terms of fun elements, by and large, the personal contact in B2B has been delivered through trade shows and events.
Mm-hmm.
And those have tended to be far more entertaining and relationship oriented. So there are some really large events, um, which have been around forever.
Hmm.
So like the Consumer Electronics Show in
Yeah.
US, or the Barcelona Mobile World Congress.
Yeah.
So these are not, I wouldn't say they're supposed to be fun, but definitely they have been entertaining and
A lot of
educational.
glamour that comes in with this.
What is it? And
Yeah.
even like, let's say, an SAP user forum,
Hmm.
a Gartner forum, these all have had a fair amount of investment
Yeah.
in terms of entertainment, and not just like edutainment, right?
Yeah. Edutainment.
So, right. So, I mean, and if you look at the speaker bureaus, they also work on that,
Hmm.
right? So if you want to have Hillary Clinton speak, yeah, sure. I mean, she will mostly be speaking at corporate events,
Hmm.
right? So I mean, you want a photo with Nassim Taleb, very possible.
Hmm.
Just go to the right event, right? So that has been the fun or entertaining thing.
Hmm.
In B2C, the product itself is selling you something else. So
Hmm.
I'm okay to buy a Kylie Jenner endorsed lipstick because it's essentially, okay, if it doesn't work, fine, I'm going to throw it away. It's okay. is not that steep an investment for you.
Mm-hmm.
Even like when you want to buy a movie star endorsed product, or let's say a car that's super cool, you want to buy a BMW, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
um, you are still going into a slightly, let's say, more serious form of research,
Right.
right? So between a handbag and a car, there is a fairly steep difference in, let's say, research.
Mm-hmm.
So BMW, okay, Movistar endorses it, is all fine, but you still want to know, so what's your maintenance
Yeah.
policy,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
that is why B2B is never going to be the same as B2C,
Mm. True.
right? So I can have, and if you go to these shows, there are movie stars, they're all present, that's fine.
Right.
But finally, you cannot give 100 million contract on the basis of that.
Mm. Right. Right.
So the reason also that if you look at even medical advertisements,
Mm.
there is no humor in them for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
That's because you don't want to go to a funny doctor,
Mm. Right. 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 Right.
right?
Mm.
I mean, bedside manner, yes, but funny, no.
Mm.
And if I start making jokes about arthritis and saying, "Oh, you should really, check out this,"
Mm.
I cut through the clutter, but the person doesn't want to go to that particular doctor.
Mm. Mm.
So we can use humor, but it's not a huge part of it.
Mm.
But there is a huge difference in boring content and content that's well written.
Yeah.
And now, because there is so much content, clients really should look at that. And the
Mm.
second is a visual approach.
Mm. Mm.
So many websites are still running on that old fashioned, I have to write 750 words, otherwise Google will ignore it
Yeah.
format. Um, but the content is, you've outsourced it, it does look boring.
Right.
And there are ways around that. You could use illustrations, you could use animations,
Absolutely.
visualizations.
Absolutely.
So not to make it funny, but to make it engaging.
Right. 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 Right.
But to be honest, I'm not seeing too many people switching into that format.
Mm-hmm.
Even the video format is underused in most companies.
Yeah. 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 You think that's gonna, play a important role? I think in the coming future, like video, because like you rightly said, because that's been used quite a bit on the B2C sort of a format, but on the B2B level, I don't think video's been thoroughly
The
used.
videos have not, because one is production is it's not the rhythm that they used to.
Right.
Second, good quality video, you can immediately tell if it's good quality or bad quality.
Right.
And you can't bury it on your website, unlike content, which you deliver 30,000 pages, nobody's going to read anything,
Mm. Mm.
right? But in video, everybody can see it and immediately tell you if it's good or bad.
Right. 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 Right.
So you can't outsource your video to the cheapest possible vendor and hope for the best,
Right. 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 That's true.
right? So that is one reason I think people are hesitating a bit, because and production cost has to come down,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So today I can get a decent article for maybe 15,000 rupees,
Mm.
but I won't get a decent video for 15,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
That's true.
you have to reset your expectations and say, I won't do 100 pieces, I will do 10 pieces of good content.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
But I feel videos, storytelling has a higher set of expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and not everybody is willing to go down that path, but they should, because again, um, today most people are more comfortable with video than with reading text.
Right. Right. Right.
So that is a shift that we will see and has to happen, and there will be easier ways to do it.
Okay.
Already it is much easier to make a video than it was even 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
But the second challenge that people have is that a lot of B2B content is not written by the actual voice of the expert.
Mm. Mm.
Right? So I would say good companies, 80% is still outsourced,
Mm-hmm.
20% of the thoughts come from in-house, but a lot of the content is just, content for the sake of having content.
Right.
Whereas with video, you will not be able to do that. You will need to have your experts ready to face the camera.
Right. 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 Right.
So that's again a change in your structure and how you're going to do things.
Mm. Mm. Right. Right.
Right, because today we have not hired people necessarily because they're great speakers on camera.
Mm-hmm.
We have hired them for ideas, and we are like, okay, you give me a point of view and I will write it nicely.
Mm. 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 True.
But in video, it works best if a person actually speaks to you and explains things.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
So you can supplement that with animations and those whiteboard videos and all.
Yeah,
But in this new world where you can't go to a conference and share your views, you're going to have to learn how to project your personality through video,
through video,
and
right?
that's a different skill set.
Mm-hmm. That's important.
Also, even in terms of social and so on, um, many B2Bs are restricted by the fact that they are listed from allowing their spokespeople to express themselves freely.
True.
Right? So you just have to look
True.
at Elon Musk and the kind of trouble he gets into for expressing his views, right? Or
Mm.
even a Brian Adams. I don't know if you saw his latest post.
Oh, okay, no, this one I didn't.
So there are two posts from him on Instagram about the cancellation of his concerts.
Okay.
One is clearly with the help of a PR professional, and it expresses disappointment, but says no problem, we're all in this together, and we'll see you in 2021.
Okay.
The other one is just a rant about useless people who have got him into this mess.
Oh, okay.
Now that's his true voice, but
Mm.
it doesn't work. I mean, you have a personality, you have a brand, you can't express yourself freely,
True.
unlike B2Cs, which actually, as a brand, can express themselves.
That's true. And
Right?
that's
So
a
B2B,
good
the
point.
CEO says, oh, this is stupid or something, and that's truly what he believes, he's in deep trouble.
Mm. That's true. That's true. That's true.
Right? Whereas a Coke can come and say this is stupid, and or they can do an ad with Kylie Jenner or whatever. All that can, it's Kylie Jenner who's taking the flak, and the
Right.
anonymous brand. The
Mm.
CEO is not hurt.
That's true. That's true. Interesting observation, Jesse. And Jesse, coming to, I mean, video was one of the things that you mentioned, but can you talk about some of the trends that you foresee in the future for B2B marketing? I know you've spoken about a couple of them, but
Mhm.
if you had to list down, like, say, about top three trends that you would see.
Okay, top three trends.
Yeah.
One is definitely the rise of remote marketing.
Right.
So that includes videos, it includes webinars
Right.
and panel discussions.
Okay.
All of which was physical will now move online. So that
Okay.
is one
That's number
definite
one.
piece.
Mm-hmm.
The second is that we will move to DIY sales, where already today around 80% of your sales process is done by the time the person reaches out to sales.
Right.
In this new anytime, anywhere kind of scenario, we have to enable that I can do it 100% across categories.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, the salesperson has been involved in customization or packaging of the right elements for that. So we now have to make it somehow possible to do this at your own time.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that means you make salespeople available in real time or you automate a lot of the process, something,
Right. Right.
but people are not going to look at waiting for someone to come back to them.
Okay.
The appointment setting model of sales is going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
The third is that the way you build trust, the old models have to be rethought,
Okay.
because a lot of the trust building was done person to person,
Right. Like physically.
right?
Yeah.
Right, physically, even references, everything you are counting on happening
Yeah.
in person with manual intervention.
Right.
So, how are you going to make this process so simple that it can be done digitally and online?
Mm-hmm.
And you may have to therefore look at newer institutions which will kind of certify you more than has been done in the past.
Mm.
So, instead of having to do my own research, I will need to have somebody who tells me that, yeah, these guys are very good. So,
Mm.
in some spaces, there is a Gartner, but in many spaces, there is not.
Mm.
But
Okay.
I now need somebody or some way to assess that this person is certified, that person isn't.
Mm. Okay.
Because I
Okay.
won't be able to spend the amount of time I used to
Mm-hmm.
in doing my due diligence.
Mm.
So
Okay.
there are already, buyer services, due diligence services. I feel those will also rise.
Okay.
Um, that is definitely one. And the other is you will see consolidation of marketing agencies in general.
Okay.
And that I assume is going to also raise the quality of content that is expected to survive.
Interesting that you said that, because I think Martin Sorrell also mentioned in sort of one of his things as well, interviews as well on that.
Okay.
I think this the bit that you spoke, I think way back in 2013 as well, which was that the localization of brands and how to make them go kind of global. So globalization is the term.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard Modi speaking about it, I think 2 days back in the speech itself.
So I actually have a counterpoint, and I know you said three trends, but this one is important.
Uh,
If we are getting comfortable with working digitally,
right.
I actually feel that um, a lot of companies will want global talent, and global talent is now available to you. So I don't necessarily need to have local entertainer, local speaker, local web designer. Why don't I go global with this?
Mm,
They're also available. They also have a major issue right now. So there's no reason for me to work with a mediocre person in India versus anywhere else in the world.
right.
And now that we know how to do things remotely,
Yeah.
I won't see any reason to choose an agency because he is in my same city.
Mm,
Right.
yeah.
And I've actually advised a client on that
Mm,
where she's actually based out of Europe and she kept saying, oh, I need a local agency, local agency. And I'm like, but what are you going to do? She's like, no, I like to, sit across the table and brainstorm. I'm like, you're not going to be able to do it.
uh,
Right. You can't brainstorm here. So what difference does it make to you? You can look at anybody.
it's a very interesting way
So
to
she
look at it.
shortlisted agencies in India because she can no longer brainstorm face to face with anyone. Might as
Uh,
well brainstorm across Zoom.
yeah, I mean that's how I think major of the brainstormings will happen now. So,
Correct. But then, if my sole USP was proximity to you, I am a local agency, I can come and meet you,
yeah.
then I need to really rapidly change what I offer because no one cares that I'm down the road anymore.
Mm, yeah, that's true.
Right. So that used to be a big criteria. Will he come when I call?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Nobody's
used to
going
be.
to come. I just want you to be awake when I call. Fine.
Yeah, the
So I
time
think
zone
we're
thing.
going to see globalization on a much larger scale
Mm,
and a lot of smaller agencies which relied on proximity will consolidate and leave.
nice, nice, nice. I think the last question before I let you go is, I know a lot of them, at least in my audience that are watching, are there are a lot of these advertising folks who want to get into entrepreneurship as well. So who want to take that leap, who want to take that jump, marketing, advertising folk who want to take that jump. If you have an advice for them at this point of time in terms of should they differentiate themselves, or what are the tips for these budding entrepreneurs, if I may say, coming from you who's done it successfully?
So first one is financial independence. You have to be able to survive on a no income for 1 year because you'll have to put money back into your business.
Right.
Um, and for around 3 years, you will get a very minimal income because again, you have to invest in your business. So unless you have the financial wherewithal to pretty much live for 3 years with no income, this is going to be a very dangerous path, particularly now.
Mm,
So forget differentiation, it is also the deepest pockets win in a recession.
mm.
So that is one. Second, and this is true regardless of recession, your first 10 clients come from your network.
Right.
So
Right.
it cannot be that I will start and expect clients to come.
That's a
At
very
least my
important
first
point.
three clients have to be locked down before I start.
It's a very important point. Yeah. Mm,
Right. So if you don't find three clients willing to work with you, then you don't have anything to take with you.
right. Right.
So, entrepreneurship sounds good, but essentially it is a client. Third, don't get into the myth of, but I can do this. I have friends who can deliver this.
Mm,
Many agencies start very hopefully by saying, I have a copywriter, I have a designer, I have the resources to deliver.
yeah. Yeah.
But actually, in business, the delivery is easy to find. If you have money, you can always get stuff for delivery. The issue is, do you own the client?
Mm,
So look for partners who own clients, not partners who bring in resources,
Mm.
except money,
Oh. Right.
right?
Right.
And cash is always king. So, more than looking for people who can draw and paint and whatever, look
Right.
for people who either bring in money or clients. Both are the only two things you actually need to survive.
Mm.
And
Mm.
the last one is, in today's world, don't dream of your pretty office, and that
Yeah.
vision we all had doesn't work anymore.
Mm.
I would definitely recommend people to go for a distributed and a lean model and figure out how to work without personal interactions.
Very, very important point. I think the third point, especially, is very relevant to in times of today as well. Right. I think this has been fabulous, Jesse. I think some of the things that have come out of this conversation, I think, have been phenomenal value to a lot of people who are not just looking at B2B, but I think in an overall level, I think the kind of trends that we'll see as well in marketing, it's just phenomenal. If you have any questions for Jesse, please do write in. I'll be sort of passing those on to Jesse as well, and sort of getting responses, and I'll post them on to the link below. So thank you so much, Jesse, for taking time out. I know it's a different time zone in Amsterdam, so thank you so much, and it's a real pleasure.
Thank you.